Hello, my name is April Rovero, and I am the Executive Director of the National Coalition Against Prescription Drug Abuse. Today, we're going to be conducting a lived experience interview with a member of our community who has quite the story to share and a lot of great advice and counsel. These lived experience interviews that we're conducting are meant to really educate first, but then also inspire people to take action, whatever that means for you individually. The interview is going to be conducted by our youth ambassadors who include Charlie and Ankita and Shreya. I will be turning the interview over to them in just a minute, but what I want you to know is that you can go to our YouTube channel to see all of our lived experience interviews, and be sure to go to capital NCA PDA. Okay, so I'm going to turn this interview over to you, Charlie. Let's go ahead and get started.
All right, thank you so much for the introduction, April. And good morning, Charisse. Thanks so much for joining us today and sharing your story. So first things first, we want to ask if you could describe your history with substance use and what ultimately led you to begin using opioids.
Well, I had a horrific accident in the park playing with my nephews. They were 3 and 5, and you're not supposed to leave children on a ledge. And we were in a park, and I wanted to take their pictures, so I put them like on a sign. And when I turned away, I saw them, the 3-year-old following the 5-year-old brother climbing down. And when I went to run to catch him, I fell off of a curb in the park. And the park had no padding, no sand. It just was like wood chips and cement. So I shattered my kneecap. I broke every blood vessel in my left breast. I broke my left arm, and I damaged my spine in 4 to 6 places. And the ambulance had to come and get me. I was not able to walk. I literally hit the ground, and I was down until the ambulance came, and which led me to have 3 to 5 surgeries, 3 major, 2 to 4 minor on my spine, from the top of my neck all the way down to the root of the top of the tailbone.
Yeah, that was a horrific experience.
Wow, I'm so sorry to hear that. I'm glad you're doing better.
So how did that exactly lead to the beginning of you using opioids?
Well, at that time, I was going to be turning 46. I was at the height of a 27-year career in hospital administration, occupational therapy, also admissions work. I've had a hospital career my whole life. And so when I had my first surgery, okay, let's go back a little bit. With me being so young, I was misdiagnosed. I had been going to the hospital several times because I was having these extreme pains, these spasms. My walking, which is called gait, started slowing down. I lost all ability of my bowel and bladder. I could not sit or stand. I would fall over. I couldn't sit long enough because I was in so much pain and different things. So they misdiagnosed me. But in the end, they found out that I had what was called cana equata. Now, this is some sort of diagnosis that's usually found in older people, but with me being so young, they did not look for it. So what happens is my spine literally began to turn into mush, to soup, like a Slurpee. And so as the damage kept growing in my body and my spine, then all my functions began to not work, and my body started to paralyze itself. Mm-hmm. So upon my first surgery, just before they put me under, the doctor said, if I would have waited one more day, I would have been completely paralyzed. I went in 4 weeks of being healthy and normal to being in a wheelchair. I spent a month in a rehab hospital after my surgery, learning how to walk, use the bathroom, just get from the kitchen sink to the refrigerator. This was very extensive. Out of guilt and pain, I was in pain, definitely, but out of guilt, my doctor, and I don't think that she did this on purpose, she overprescribed medications for me. Because I was so young, I was losing my career, I was literally paralyzed. At that time, I was wearing adult diapers and in a wheelchair. When I left the hospital, I was able to stand, but I wasn't able to walk. I could take like 1 or 2 steps, but I was still in a wheelchair. So to keep me comfortable, I was given 400 Percocets, 300 Norcos, 200 pure oxys for breakthrough pain, and Ativan to relax me and keep me calm. And this was given to me every 3 weeks. This was not a monthly prescription. This was a 2.5 to 3 week prescription. Excuse me, I just got 2 new kittens in there, a handful. So this was given to me every 2.5 to 3 weeks. And I think the medication was given to me to kind of pacify me, keep me comfortable. Since I was losing so much, I had lost the ability to walk. I had lost the ability to even have control of my urine and my bowels. They would just slip right out of me. I was in so much pain. I couldn't sit, I couldn't stand, I couldn't lie down. The least that she could offer me was comfort. And so it's almost like overfeeding a baby. You know, you just give them the bottle and give them the bottle to pacify them, and then they literally get sick, or they, you know, the weight blows up or something to that effect. And so that's what happened. I was pacified with these medications out of guilt. I want to say that her intention was correct. Like, she wanted to help me. She wanted to keep me comfortable. She wanted me to be rehabbed. She did not want me to be hurting. But at the same time, she felt, well, I'm going to say this. I'm going to say she felt like it was almost her fault, because she had been my doctor for so long, very efficient doctor, but I was misdiagnosed. And she wasn't the only one. The ER doctors did not catch it. Nobody caught it until I started my very first day of rehab. I started going to an outside, a day rehab. And I couldn't do the exercises that they needed me to do, and they noticed something different. So they had their specialist come and check me out, who sent me to another specialist the same day. And that morning, I was under the knife having my first surgery. And I'm going to say within 3 weeks, I had 3 major surgeries, back to back to back to back. I still have metal in my spine now. And so that's how I was introduced to the medication. Now, on her behalf, I want to say the medications were so new just a few years ago. She didn't know that they were addicting as they are today. She didn't know that this would ever cause such a problem. This doctor was very, very efficient, very good at her job, very nurturing, very caring. And so I don't see her. Now, we do have some doctors, we all know that they just don't need to be a doctor, but I can't say this about this particular doctor.
Charisse, how long was it before you think you developed a dependence and potential addiction or substance use disorder to the medications you've been prescribed? Because that's a lot of medication. And so
I'm going to say I probably felt my first major difference about 3 weeks in,
Mhm.
but to be honest with myself, maybe 3 to 4 months
Mhm.
after use, I started saying and admitting I have a problem.
Mhm. Okay.
Because it was a little bit different. I wasn't taking the medication like, okay, I'm like, please, people that watch this YouTube, please don't feel disrespected, but I just want to be honest. I was not taking the medication as if I was fiending, like, I got this medication, let me take it. I got this medication, let me take it. I thought I was following the directions. The directions said, take 1 pill, 1 to 2 pills every 2 hours as needed for pain.
Mhm.
Well, every 2 hours came, I took 2 pills. And whether there was pain or not. Then the breakthrough medication, which is pure oxy, which means it's the most potent part of the drug without a chaser, was for breakthrough pain. Take every hour for breakthrough pain. So every 2 hours, I took my Percocet, I took my Norco, 2 of this one of that one, which when I started off with Norco, was 3 at a time. And then in between, every hour, I set the alarm, pain or no pain, I took that breakthrough, pure oxy. And so, because I was also taught, and this is one of the things, I was also taught, stay on top of the pain. You don't want the pain to catch up with you. You want to stay on top of it. So that's kind of how mine went. It wasn't an issue of, I have these medications, you know, I have to. It was not understanding how to take them. So I took them incorrectly, developed a horrible addiction habit to them. But when it came down to those Ativans, that's a different story. 100% abused those in every way that I could. I would take 9 to 10 of them at a time. 20 was the most I ever took. I got very sick and ended up in the hospital. So I didn't do that too many times, but 9 to 10 of them. And I would chew them like gum, that chalk, that paste. I needed that on my tongue. I needed that in the back of my teeth. And if I didn't have that feeling, I was out of whack. I was out of sorts. So I kept those. I needed to hear that bottle shaking. I needed to know that I had them. My life went around these medications. I couldn't make any moves unless I had these medications. I couldn't go too far unless I had my medications. If I was going to run out, I couldn't go anywhere. Things like that.
Okay. Well, let's move on to the next question. We still have a few more left here. So, Ankita, I think you're next, right?
How did the stigma from your family, so can you please describe how that affected your story?
Well, when I was taking medications, that part wasn't a problem because I was what was called a functioning addict. I still looked my part. I could still play my part, but I became very explosive. And so they made excuses for me. Oh, she just had surgery. Oh, she's in pain. Oh, her medication is not working. And I made excuses for myself. When I began to get into my power and decided I was going to what's called a medication assistant program, who has been a miracle and a blessing in my life. And I'm still part of that program to this day. I've been in the program for 2 years, a little over 2 years, and I'm 100% for it. I spend my time there. I love it. That became humiliating for them because how dare I bring this into their home? How dare I go to a rehab? How dare I say that I have an addiction? how dare I, how dare I. It was as if I was doing something to them. As long as the secret was just that, a secret behind closed doors. But now I'm bringing it out into the community. Now I'm going to be seen. What if I run into one of their friends? What if I run into one of their church members? What if someone finds out that I am in a rehab? Now, I was in this medication, it was an outpatient. I was in this medication assistant program for 3 months before I realized it was even a rehab. I thought I was in school. I thought I was taking classes. I thought I was in a school. I didn't understand that this was a rehab because I had never been to a rehab before. I only knew what I knew on television. And same with the family. They only knew what they knew on television. So I was told, you don't need to be around these people. You are not these people. You don't need these people. You don't need this help. You don't need to talk to these people. This isn't the kind of company you want to keep. Well, I'm a big believer that there's no big I's or little U's. When it doesn't matter that I'm at the head of the table and you're around the table, we all have a seat at this exact same table. If I don't do my work, if I don't do my part, I'm not going to get healed. I'm not going to be rehabilitated. I'm not going to learn the tools that I need to be able to come out of this addict behavior, this addiction, and to live my life in a strong, positive way, which is what most people do. I don't know anyone who has said, you know what, I'm just going to grow up, or I'm going to be a teenager. What do you want to be, an addict? I'm going to be addicted to pills. I'm going to be addicted to reefer. I'm going to be addicted to hard drugs. No, most people say, I want to be a good American citizen. I want to give back. I want to offer something. Well, you can't do that when you have a cloud over you and you're abusing medications and using them as an scapegoat.
Very true. All right, let's see. Shreya, you're next. And are we able to go to our question number 3 for Charisse? I think she's covered number 2 pretty well.
Yeah.
Thank
So
you.
our next question for you is, what was your rock bottom that inspired you to seek recovery?
I don't know that I ever hit a rock bottom because I was in such denial about what was going on. I don't think that I ever hit a rock bottom, but I did have some very eye-opening moments. There was a time, okay, that under the use of these medications, that I began sleeping with men who I didn't even know their name. But because they had the party drug, they had the pill, they had what I needed, and I wasn't going to have to pay for it. I wasn't going to have to use my own product. You know, it's sort of like women that date men who have a lot of money. You know, I'm dating them for the money. Well, guess what? I'm dating you because you can supply this need. But I would wake up and not know their name because these things take away your memory. I wouldn't have, some of these gentlemen I didn't even know for 24 hours. Now, this led me to having to take sexually transmitted disease tests, HIV tests, syphilis, AIDS, just all kind of things, you know, that you pray and you hope that you never get. And it was nothing but, truly nothing but the grace of heaven, that the only thing that I caught, I could cure with a pill. Now that was a very eye-opening experience because I stopped taking pride in my body, my mind, and my soul of who I was. And I was laying down my power because this person had something that I wanted. And I started to do what we call trickster, being a trickster, meaning trickster energy. Then the other thing that was very eye-opening was the way that I even got into the program, the medication assistant program, was I had a good friend who was like a sister to me. And we did everything together, my partner in crime. And she was going to lose her career. So she was assigned to go, and she just did not want to go by herself. So she begged me to please sign up and go, please sign. So I did. So we thought that we were going to get this medication that's called Suboxone. We would use it, get our own prescription, use that or sell that, whichever one we wanted to do. And we were going to fool these people. Well, needless to say, a couple of weeks in, I found my story. I started listening to what the people had to say, and they opened my eyes to things that I was experiencing but had no name for, had no label for, didn't understand where this emotion came from, and they gave it a place. So I started coming back now, not to trick them, not to fool them, but to learn from them. And that was the day that I'll say that I opened my eyes and said, these people can offer me something. Now, please understand, the medication assistant program is not trading one drug for another. The medication is a tool. It is a tool to allow you to gain clarity so that you can learn efficient tools, more tools, stronger skills to help you overcome the addiction. Because you can't stop, you can't just stop cold turkey. No one's going to advise that. So they're going to put you on a medication, and they're going to begin to wean you down. You know, they'll titrate it up, they'll titrate it down, whatever you need. But these people, they're some wise doctors. You're going to come to class every day. You're going to show up. You're going to do the work. You're going to test every day, sometimes twice a day. They may even put it on your tongue for you and watch you swallow it. You're not going to trick these people because they know. You're not going to buy urine from the weed store. You're not going to trade urine in the bathroom with your sisters, your baby sister, and all this other stuff and get away. No, they know everything that you could think of. They're already on top of it. And they're going to help you to come out of this mindset, because this is dark thinking. They're going to help you come out of this mindset. And so when I realized that, you know what? I've tapped into something really healthy here that could really take me where I want to be in life, what I want to do in life, and started applying the skills. Instead of telling these people, you don't know what you're talking about, this is not your experience, I tried it their way. And it worked. From the day that I walked in there, May 14th, 2018, up until today, which is September the 13th, not one day have I had a slip up, not one day have I failed a drug test, not one day have I looked back. It wasn't easy. I did my work. When they say, change your environment, so that means at 2 o'clock in the morning, they're not here. There are not many people you can call at 2 o'clock in the morning. But I remembered, I got to my notes, change my environment. There was one time that I felt like I was going to take those Advance, I was going to take those Percocets. I didn't have time to waste. I just ran outside. The only thing I had on was a pair of underwear, a pair of panties, and a t-shirt. And I walked my cul-de-sac, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. I walked my cul-de-sac until I got that feeling out, until I felt like I could do this without the drug, because you have to change who you're around. You're going to have to change your environment. Friends are going to no longer be friends. You're going to have to make some very hard choices, but you can choose correctly. But that is something that I had to do. I didn't have time to find a pair of breeches to put on. I knew that if I wasted time, I was going to go and take something. So I ran out the house in my underwear and just did what I needed to do to make sure that at that time I could stay clean. You don't have to try to figure out 24 hours a day. Sometimes you can only figure out 30 minutes at a time, 12 hours at a time, 4 hours at a time. Just get through that moment, celebrate that moment, and you'll make it through step by step.
Thank you,
Wow.
Charisse. Before Charlie asks our final question of you, I just wanted to do a really quick summary. What you've shared with us is so rich and powerful. And so the first thing I took away from what you shared was that, first of all, you started out perfectly normal. An accident drove you ultimately into your substance use disorder. And, you have fought hard through all of this to come out of it through the program that was successful. And so the bottom line is there is hope. No matter how far you've gone down into the depths of whatever you're experiencing, you can survive. You can recover. And I love that fact. You're a very good example of that. So Charlie, go ahead and ask our final question, and we'll look forward to hearing what advice you have, I believe, here.
Yeah. And as April said, thank you so much for the really inspiring and powerful message. And as you were talking about environments, that kind of leads me into the last question, being what messages do you have for youth and adolescents, particularly those who don't have supportive family environments?
Okay. I'm going to say the same thing that I always tell my children. You are born with everything that you need to make it in this life. You can never outlove anyone before you love yourself. First love and first respect comes with self. You can never love a husband, a boyfriend, a girlfriend, a wife more than you love self. And so if you remember that, you are less likely to do things that could be abusive to your body and to your character, because you realize that you're worth something and you have something to lose. Just because mama did something a certain way, daddy did something a certain way, doesn't mean that it works for you. That was my problem. I was always trying to keep up with my mother. I went into debt, keeping kids in private school, driving cars that I couldn't afford, living in homes that were just too expensive, because I was doing keeping up with the Joneses or keeping up with my family. That was the stigma in itself, that I needed to look a certain way of how they thought success would look. And so when these medications came along, it allowed me to get out of being perfect. I had an excuse to be lazy and not do what I needed to do. And I hid behind the illness and the medications. But this is why it's important for young people to stay on track with their goals. Heal your mind and your body when you have been hurt emotionally and physically. Please understand that your parents are not perfect. And so you can't look for perfection in them, but you can look for perfection in yourself. Meaning, no, you're not perfect, but you're perfect for you. And if you remember that, and that you have something to lose, it's called your life, your time, your future, you won't be so quick to give it away or put it on sale by using drugs, alcohol, pills, women, men, any other substance. Because a lot of times with that diagnosis, there's an underlying diagnosis. I didn't realize I had codependency. I thought I was independent. but I found that I was codependent because I was a follower versus a leader. And the only person I need to lead is me. I don't need to have a whole bunch of people behind me, but I need to lead my life. So that's what I tell my children on a regular basis, and they're 33 and 23, and they still listen to this day.
They're still listening. That you've achieved a lot if they're still listening. That's great. All right. Well, thank you so much. So Charlie, you want to close us down here?
Yeah, absolutely. Once again, Charisse, thanks so much for such, I guess, a resonating message. I really hope that, I really think it's going to resonate with our viewers a lot. Thank you, Ankita and Shreya, for helping to coordinate and organize the interview. It's really been, a good journey. And so for all the viewers out there, make sure you stick around. April is going to be covering some good resources, and it looks like we got a cat cameo. Hello, kitty cat.
Little kitty.
Too much. Yes.
Thank you, Charisse. Really appreciate it. We look forward to working more with you too moving forward. So,
Thank you all for having me. This is very enjoyable. And I really, really hope that this resonates with someone. I really hope that, that I'm going to wish people that are on this journey. This is not an easy journey. It's hard. It's tough, but you can do it. There's nothing that says that we can't succeed in hard. There's nothing that says that we can't succeed in tough. We just got to do what we got to do. Handle your business. Be encouraged.
Okay. Well, again, you can find this interview along with the others we've conducted on our YouTube channel. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Here are a few resources we hope you'll check out. If you or a friend or family member has concerns related to substance misuse, suicide, or mental health issues of any kind, contact the anonymous 24/7 hotline at 800-662-HELP. Visit NIDA for Teens website where fact-based information is provided that can empower you to make informed decisions about using and misusing drugs of all types. Watch the What is Naloxone video to learn more about opioids, how they affect the brain, and how an opioid overdose can be overturned with naloxone. Thank you for watching this interview. We hope you have found it helpful. If you have any questions or comments, please reach out to NCAPDA at either 925-480-7723 or info@ncapda.org. You can also join us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram to learn more. Thank you.